Welcome to the Radiant Life with Tatiana. I am your host, and I'm obsessed with empowering you to live and create the best life possible. I'm a master mindset coach, breathwork facilitator, and a passionate little Latina who loves sharing the magic behind your subconscious mind and energetics. If you're looking to uplevel your mindset, learn all about spirituality and manifestation, and to be inspired in making a change to embody your best self, you are in the right place. My goal is for you to see and unlock your limitless potential, to have the tools to break free from the chains holding you back so you can create and live your most radiant life. I am so excited to have you here listening today. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hello, loves, and welcome to the Radiant Life podcast. Today's episode is extra special as it has been a highly requested one to bring this guest back to share more of his side, our story, and I'm excited to have him here. My heart is beating a little bit right now. There's a mix of excitement and nerves. But yeah, let's dive into it. So welcome back, babe. Here is my now fiance. It's been almost a year since we recorded the last podcast episode. So welcome back to the show.
Thanks, babe. It's great to be back, and I'm glad that I still make your heart beat faster, even to this day. So it's good to be back.
You do. So, woo! It has been a journey. We are newly engaged. We are more obsessed with each other than ever, which is crazy because everyone's like, the honeymoon phase will end. I don't believe that's true. We've been back together now for a little over a year, about 13, 14 months.
Yep.
And we have been asked lots and lots of questions around our relationship, our coming back together story, some breakup questions as we've gone a little viral on TikTok. And I'm so grateful for all of you guys listening. I'm so happy that our story has either resonated or brought awareness to your eyes or maybe brought hope. And if you have not heard our full How Breaking Up Brought Us Closer Together story, make sure you listen to that episode first before you continue to listen to this one. That is episode number 79. And our intention for today's show is to share more of our comeback story, what we did this last year to really rekindle our love, how we created a completely new relationship, what has really supported us, and sharing a little bit more of Evan's side, as many have asked to hear a little bit more of what he has to say. And I have lots of questions that you guys put in a form on my Instagram. So we want to keep this episode not too long. So if we run out of time to answer those specific questions, we will just have to have this beautiful man come back on the show and we will answer all those questions for you. But let's dive into it. So, hi.
Yeah, let's bring the story full circle. It's been a roller coaster, but I'm glad to say our bond is stronger than ever, and everything that's brought us to this point has really just inspired a lot of gratitude in me because it's been a journey to get here, and just happy to be here in this position with you, and let's dive into the story.
Me too. It's been a beautiful journey. So let's talk about briefly what has happened since the last podcast episode. So we recorded it, I think, at the end of March of 2022 when we were about 2 months in of getting back together. So since then,
almost a year ago at this point.
Yeah, I moved back in to our house, Evan's house, at the end of May, which is a beautiful story that I want to share really, really quick because I got questions like, well, what if you're in the middle of a lease? I broke my lease. And the thing is it all worked out. He was having a roommate that was in for about, till June or whatnot. And I just went to the leasing office and I just said, I'm not happy living here. I just want to move. Yada, yada, yada. I found someone to really take over my lease. And it happened.
Sublease, basically.
Yeah. No, they took over my contract.
Gotcha.
And yeah, it happened. I got bombarded with messages because my apartment was beautiful and for the price it was at. And it just all worked out so smoothly, so effortlessly. And I think that instead of worrying about all of the what's in the house, you just got to trust. I trusted that it would work out. And I could have easily stayed to the end of our lease, which was October. But I was like, no, I think we're meant to move back in together. And it all fell into place. So we moved back in May.
Real quick, I think that goes back to choice as well. If you decide you want to do something, especially in a relationship, you can find ways to make it happen, right,
Mm.
guys? And just for your listeners, I wanted to just chime in with that because you made a decision and wanted to make it happen, and you did.
Yeah. I think I also like put a lot of what I teach and preach into practice. I was like, okay, God, this is on my heart. This is what I desire. I would visualize it. I would feel into it, and I would pray on it. And then I would kind of detach, like, okay, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And if it's not, it's not. And when I got the go from the leasing office, like I just had to kind of ask. If you don't ask, you don't know the answer. And then when I posted on Facebook, I woke up the next day with like 20 plus messages, and I was like, okay, cool, this is gonna work out. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta detach, but you gotta take some action.
And you moving back in was honestly one of the most beautiful relationship moments for me. It was just a stir of emotions and how far we had come at that point.
Yeah.
So that was a fond memory for sure.
Yeah, and shout out to our friends for moving me out of the house to move me back into the house because you guys are the real MVPs. Oh man. And on top of that, the woman who moved into my apartment bought practically all of the new furniture I bought for the apartment. So it was such a win-win.
It worked out.
So literally a week or two after I moved in, we went to Italy. And I think that was one trip of a lifetime.
That was an incredible trip.
Yeah, and it, I believe, fully re-solidified the new us. Because, quick little backstory, we went to Italy back in 2017 when we had just started dating. It was an absolute shit show. Got stuck in Heathrow Airport in London for 3 days with no sleep. Oh my God, worst time of our life.
That can be a whole different episode.
Yeah.
We'll dive into some of the ups and downs throughout our relationship too, maybe later. But
don't fly British Airways. But I think that trip around that time we had 4 weddings in
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
We had 4 weddings.
And 3 of them were all out of state. 1 was out of country. And I think those weddings, I don't know about you, but I was like, ooh.
It was full wedding season, and I think that kind of inspired even more romanticism and dancing together and having fun and going on adventures together. Definitely continued to solidify our rekindling there.
Yeah, no, it really did. And that trip really allowed us to step into a whole new, I don't know, I just like felt it. I just felt a difference with us. And it just brought it to a whole new level, deeper commitment, a deeper love. And so when we came back from that trip, it was, all right, now this is our new life together. This was our new home. And the end of summer to fall was all about making it work and moving into kind of the redating phase, into building a deeper, stronger foundation of our relationship. We went to UPW, which...
Tony Robbins, that was a really good event that I think I felt a stronger connection between us throughout that those 4 days, just fully immersing ourselves and getting vulnerable with each other and people that we didn't even know, strangers and also friends around us. We did that for 4 days, 15 hours a day. It was intense, but it was just a really, really powerful experience that we were able to experience together.
Yeah, like with some of the visualization exercises, I've recorded some of them just to have as background videos, and just you and I holding hands. I mean, that's where, I just got goosebumps. That's where we got the vision. I don't want to share, but more of like the next business that we want to do together. And I think I was like, that was a really big pivotal moment as well.
For sure, yeah. I think the fall was a lot more prioritizing the relationship and also supporting each other in our careers. You were, going through a phase of building your business, and I was going through a career transition into a new growth opportunity. And I think we kind of...
There was big shifts.
Big shifts, and we really leaned on each other to support each other through that.
In completely different ways than we had in the past. And
correct.
Yeah, and then that brought us into the holidays where we got to rekindle with our families as back together, and to January to getting engaged. Which I know we have a whole...
Life is good.
Yeah, life is good. We have a whole I have a whole podcast episode on our engagement story, so that's not what today's episode is going to be on, but...
It was perfect.
It was perfect. You crushed it.
Thank you.
I think
had a lot of help from our friends as well.
Yeah, you good. You really did. And I think this is a good segue here because One, we're going to go into like, how did you know? How did we know, right? How did we overcome the doubt? But two, when we got engaged, I remember sitting in my journal just like crying of gratitude because things can change so fast. And maybe you're listening and you just got broken up with, or you just left your partner, or maybe it's been a few months or years and you're still hung up, or maybe your relationship is struggling and it may feel like you're in one of the lowest points and you never know if it's going to get better from here, if there's light at the end of the tunnel. There is. And find gratitude in those darkest, lowest days, because if the current version of me could just go back in time and talk to the woman who was crying, sobbing on her knees on the floor, helpless, just asking God for help to take her pain away. And if I could tell her that it would feel like a blink in an eye, but in a year or so time, you're going to be in this new relationship with the same man, which would have blown my mind, and engaged and in love and experiencing things that I've never thought could be experienced inside of a relationship before, I would have struggled to believe you, but it would have supported me and giving me hope. And so I hope our story shares that there is light at the end of your tunnel, whatever moment you're in, whether you're single, heartbroken, or in a relationship that's just hitting a really rocky patch. Keep going, knowing that it's making both of you guys go stronger. So
yeah, I think the transformation was honestly incredible. And that's certainly possible for other people listening to this out there right now. So have faith and just do the things that you can do to try to make it right.
Yeah.
If that's what you want.
I mean, we were two different people energetically, and we created a completely new relationship energetically. People feel it when they see us. And yeah, we want to share a little bit more of what that looked like for us, and answering some questions on the way that like may feel good around what you guys asked. But I guess let's start here, babe. A lot of people wanted to hear a little bit more of your side of the story on the breakup and the rekindling, and sharing how you navigated those months of how did you believe me? How did you know it was ready to try again? How did you believe things would be different? And yeah, share a little bit more of your story during the breakup and the rekindling phase.
Yeah, so the months of the breakup, I think it was it 2 or 3 months?
No, it was more than that.
Or 6.
Well, it was, we broke up in July. The months before that, I had been taking space. Right. I took a month in Costa Rica, but we were broken up for like July to January.
So about 6 months, yeah. So for me, it definitely, there was a void that I felt, right? You go from having a partner with you by your side every day, supporting you in everything you do, experiencing adventures together, loving life together, to a rough patch where you're not broken up. And I think there was a void that I was looking to fill, and I just kind of threw myself into work, into personal development, into reading books and podcasts and all these things that I thought would help my growth, which they did. And kind of diving more into that.
Yeah.
But there was definitely something missing. And that was a consistent kind of feeling that kept coming up throughout the process.
Mm-hmm. What, before you keep going, what would you have wished you did differently? Or what would you have recommend to the listeners who felt what you're feeling but are not filling that void in healthy ways, productive ways, or they're shutting down because they feel uncomfortable opening up to people? So start with what you wish you could do differently, and then if there's any advice there.
So I wish I focused more on myself and kind of connecting there, because I think I threw myself into work to try to distract myself, and unhealthy distractions like alcohol and these things. I was drinking whiskey more at night and scotch on the rocks and all these things, and
kind of numbing the pain, which many people do.
It was a mechanism to block out the pain, is what it was, and that really wasn't the healthiest way to deal with it. So as those 6 months went on, I think I progressively improved in the way I was dealing with it.
Yeah.
And started to actually communicate with people I cared about around me about it. Started focusing on myself and really my own personal growth rather than just throwing myself into work. And then over time, we started to talk a little bit again. I think the trust was definitely something that needed to be repaired, and something that you needed to build back in that relationship, and me as well, right? It went both ways in that sense, but it definitely took a lot of persistence on your part, and I think I had my guard up because of that trust factor, and I really had to allow you to build that trust back.
Yeah. We'll go into that a little bit more in depth because we have many questions around that.
Right.
And I asked you that question because I observed how you were handling the breakup, and I don't want to say you were shutting people out, but that's not the case. But it's not like you were opening up compared to like how I open up to people and friends and coaches and like, give me all the help, give me all the lessons. And I think that many people, when they're going through heartbreak, shut down and they find distractions in not so healthy way, whether it's drugs or alcohol or sex or a new relationship. And I wanted to touch on that because I have received a lot of questions around that. Like, how do I not do that? Or what if my partner's doing that? I mean, you can't really control how someone else heals. And it actually was hard for me to watch that was, I don't want to say yours was horribly like that, right? But I just knew that it wasn't how I wished you would choose to heal, which was like get a coach or get a therapist and open up and talk about it versus kind of retreating. But that was a part of your journey that I had to learn how to accept and surrender because I was no longer your girlfriend, and I had to.
There's nothing you could.
I had to let go.
Tell
it was
me how to
so
live my life
hard.
at that
Yeah.
point. Right. There was definitely healthier ways I could have went about it. Even like exercise and working out to stimulate your mind rather than just drinking, a couple of whiskeys a night to kind of block out the things that you're feeling.
If someone's listening right now and that's, these are called they're protection mechanisms. We have protection mechanisms and attachment styles, which, I'm going to be sharing more here on the podcast and inside of my program, Radiant Relationships, because this is why we behave the way we do, how we act. It's to keep us safe because we don't want to get hurt. But what would you say to the person who is behaving in that way to numb the pain? Like if you could just give a tip that feels uncomfortable opening up, or what would you have needed to hear?
Just that there are better ways to go about it. Like that stuff's not going to help you, right? Like you temporarily block it out, but it actually, what ends up happening is you bottle it up even more. Mm-hmm. So you bottle it up inside and you suppress the emotions rather than releasing it. And over time, I think that builds and builds. And then at some point, it's going to really explode and come up.
Yeah.
And that actually did happen to me at one point where, I just broke down and,
were you alone?
I was alone and just, let it out and cried. And
it's like
it wasn't the only time, but, I would just say that's not the healthiest way to deal with it.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think, this is a behavior in both men and women. It's not just a male thing. I feel like sometimes our generation has been was raised in a society where don't show emotion, don't show weakness, like hold it in. And no, like if you've been a loyal listener to my podcast, I say you must feel to heal. You got to let it out.
Right.
And so even for the women who have that type of behavior too, like this goes both ways. And this is what I support women in coaching with, to teach them how to feel safe and comfortable feeling and express their emotions, because the more you suppress or repress, the more it's going to manifest into issues in your life.
I totally agree. And another nuance here that made it more complicated is your sister is basically a sister to me, and we had a lot of the same really close friends here. And so it was very difficult to be vulnerable with people around us down here because it was mutual good friends. So that further complicated it. So there was a select few people that I actually felt like I could go to and not make it weird for them if both of us were going to them to to kind of dive in. So
yeah,
that was definitely a factor for me.
Just because we're on this topic, I want to just briefly touch, like, how did we handle, so we were in the same friend group. How did we handle being in the same friend group while being in no contact or in this breakup? And, sometimes you would be invited to something and I wouldn't, or vice versa. Like how, I'll share my point too, but like, how did we handle this? I think
most of the time we were both invited just because we were both part of a friend group. And
I was first though.
She was first. She made great friends with some of these ladies that ended up leading to some of my great guy friends at this point in my life. And that was a very difficult part of it because it was awkward for other people that were putting gatherings together and get-togethers.
Yeah.
And so that was something we had to work through. At least from my perspective, I think we were very civil about it. We both would go to parties, but I think I was a little bit thick-headed in the sense that I tried to just ignore her at a lot of these gatherings and just try to have fun with friends that were in the friend group and have a good time. But I was so hurt at one point that I didn't even want to talk to her.
Yeah.
And that was
rough.
That was a challenging thing to work through because, there would end up being some tension in the air at these gatherings.
Yeah, and I think like we have a beautiful friend group who are very positive, uplifting, self-aware human beings, and they respected us. They all told us like we're not going to choose sides. That Evan and I never even would have asked that of them, but we just have that friend group that was able to balance it, and it came down to the point for us that we had to accept that sometimes they would just invite one or the other because they didn't want that awkward energy in the air. And you have to respect those friends. If you're just broke off an engagement, for example, like your friends are going through a little bit of a heartbreak too. Like their best friends just broke up. And that's what our friends really communicated to us before and after, because they were like, it was so hard for them because they loved us. They loved us together. And it was hard. So, I mean, if you're navigating those waters, try putting yourself in your friend's shoes and don't lash out and just ask them to maybe communicate in better ways and also accept that they're doing the best they can and trying to balance them out.
Yeah, I fully agree. I don't recall not being invited to anything.
But maybe, I don't know.
Maybe I just didn't know that.
Yeah. But okay, so moving into this question that we've gotten a lot was, I had to prove my trust to you. So the rekindling process, before you even accepted agreeing to it, I had to build this trust and prove it to him that I was serious and that I want to make it work. And, I don't know how much we touched on the last episode because it was still pretty fresh when we recorded that. But, people have asked me, what did I do and how did you take that in and how did I handle your coldness? So I want to start with how did I do it? So it's a dance. It's a balancing art where I had to show up and prove him that I was serious with my actions and do little things to show that, while also respectfully learning to when he needed the space and not to be too much, too clingy or too smothering, and respecting the boundary still, right? This is especially before he agreed to giving it a shot. And like I said, it's an art, it's a dance. I wasn't perfect. I had to just feel it out. Sometimes it was like, you're being too much. Sometimes it was like, okay. And so like a few things I would do, for example, if I was driving by your house and I was at the coffee shop, I would get you a coffee and I would stop in and just be like, I would get you and your roommate a coffee. And it was just, I don't know, how did you take that? For me, that was my way of showing you in action that I care. Hey, I'm putting in the effort, but like, I don't want to have to talk about it every time. I'm trying to prove to you through my actions, right? I don't know. What did you think when I would bring coffee?
It was definitely a sense of having to prove yourself, and you really had to sell me on building trust back is what it came down to.
He made me work for it, you guys, for like months.
Look, I'm a big believer in persistence. Mm-hmm. We can get into how, I think we talked about this in the first episode. I was the one that had to be extremely persistent in the beginning to even get you to date me in the first place. And so now the roles were reversed.
Yeah.
And she had to do the same. And she really just controlled what she can control, which is another thing I believe in, right? And she consistently did the actions to move forward and what she wanted. And, it took time. I wasn't going to be convinced overnight.
Yeah.
It took consistency and eventually, I mean, we can dive into further details of it, but eventually it was so clear that she was not going to give up.
Yeah.
That it convinced me that we can give this another shot and maybe it could be great.
And it was hard. The whole breakup for me, one of the biggest lessons was learning to let go and surrender and not have control over things, right? I couldn't control what he was doing during our time apart. I could not control his way of healing. I couldn't control anything. It was one of the hardest lessons I've ever had to learn. And it was obviously a lesson I needed to learn. And so I also had to learn how to let go of the expectation and the control of it was, because at one point I was like, I don't want to walk into the new year without officially being back together. And I was like, I had to detach and let go of that because who am I to control the timeline?
You can't force a thing like that.
Yeah.
You can't. And yeah, it was really just you not giving up. And I think we set a timeline of not talking, of no contact. I think it was.
So this was during the breakup before we even talked. So yes, for those asking, we did do no contact.
How long was that?
We agreed to 2 weeks, but it was well more than that because.
So I think part of that too was not talking to Tatiana. At least for me, from my perspective, you can tell me what yours is, but it made me realize that I want her in my life. Like not having that contact and having that time apart solidified the fact that I didn't want to live without her at one point, especially when you. Well,
we kind of did two no contacts. We did the no contacts when we first broke up because we had to heal.
I would say that second one.
And the second one, after I spilled my heart out to you, you were kind of like, bro, I need space because I was being too clingy, too like smothering at one point.
And I don't think it was that. You were just trying to force it.
Yeah, I was trying to force it. And so that's when we did another. That wasn't a time. We didn't choose a timeline. That was. You were cold. You were really cold, and I just had to learn with the energy. And I was like, okay, I need to give him space. And
I think it was through that process, and I wanted to have it happen naturally if it was going to happen, right?
Yeah, and what a lot of people have asked me was like, what have Evan's efforts been and his reaction when I was proving myself to him? He was very hesitant. He didn't have the same intentions I had in the beginning, and he was very, very cold and so dry. And it was really hard. It was really painful. And I had to go about it with the mindset of that if it's meant to be, it'll be. And I'm going to show up for him and prove it. And at the same time, I'm going to continue to focus on my healing and put my focus on myself and trust that if he doesn't soften in whatever time frame I knew was good for me, I had to know my worth, and I had to know when to walk away. Because at one point, it felt like I was knocked down on the floor and I was being fucking dragged. And I know those weren't your intentions, because we had some friends be like, you need to tell them what's going on, and that's when I like broke down on the beach.
Yeah, I mean, I never wanted to see you upset, of course.
Yeah, but
I still cared about you.
Yeah,
I was just. That lack of trust was always in the back of my mind until you finally didn't give up to the point where it was very clear that
like weeks on end, months.
It was probably a month of her consistently putting effort in, and that's hard for people to hear because it's not
for him
easy.
To even
It's
be like, okay,
easy.
we can. It wasn't let's get back together. It was okay. That was for him to be like, okay, I'm open to the possibility of us just seeing each other again and dating and just what does that look like? It took a while. And so for those of you who are like, it's only been 2 weeks. Oh my God, it took months for both of us.
I'll give you a lot of credit. You were very creative in some of your strategies.
I was. I had
She was writing letters. She was sending me coupons to dates for the things that I enjoy doing.
When I made you dinner once, I had you come over to talk, and I made his favorite dinner, which he didn't even eat a bite of. I had so many leftovers, and in that I had a letter, and I colored a coupon for a date, and I just tried being creative. Like in a day and age where you can just buy everything, I was like, how can I show that like I'm putting time in and handwritten letters and just so much and coffees for everybody to know.
Let me ask you a question, babe.
Mm-hmm.
Was it worth it?
100%.
Was it all worth it?
100%. Even though I would go over my friend's house, I would sleep over my friend's houses because I couldn't be alone some nights because it was just so heavy. And thank you to you guys who know who you are. Like I get emotional thinking about this because you guys were my rocks. But yeah, it's 100% worth it, even though I was in the darkest of my days. But okay, so I proved my trust to you. I handled your coldness and hesitancy, which you had every right to do that. So how did you know? How did you know that I had proved it to you, that the trust was there, that, okay, this is worth looking into? What was there a moment for you?
Yeah, no, I think, again, it was the sheer persistence that kind of opened the door to start going on a date and just kind of getting to know each other. And then at one point, and then it was looking back and realizing all these extreme highs and lows that I've had in my own life. And looking back, Tatiana was always there for me. And in some of these cases, it was almost unreasonable for her to stick with me, and she stuck with me through some of these very, very much low points in my life. And real quick, I'll tell a quick story when we were getting back together. It was New Year's going into 2022.
Yeah.
Right. And I'd gotten these new rainbow sandals for Christmas. They were nice sandals, but a different kind of leather than my feet were used to. And what ended up happening was I had some kind of allergic reaction where the skin of my feet was opened up by the sandals. And long story short, I won't roast the listeners out here, but
you guys,
the infections in my feet became so bad. I almost had to go to the hospital. It was coming up my legs, spreading. My friends came down from Boston. They were going to Miami to see a Patriots game and spend the weekend down there. I ended up having to back out of the trip because I couldn't even put shoes on.
You barely walk. Your feet were so swollen.
I could barely walk, and it was horrible. One of the worst medical experiences of my life. And this was right when we were starting to
talk again,
rekindle.
Like really be more intentional.
So there was 4 or 5 days where I couldn't even leave the house. Like my feet were oozing everywhere. I couldn't put shoes on. And I'll leave it at that. But it was just one of those things that really solidified that I know she's always there for me, because she stuck with me for 4 or 5 days. She was ordering pizza for us, picking it up, and kind of just watching movies.
Driving you to urgent care twice.
Driving me to urgent care, spending hours there with me. And, we just watched movies and got through it.
I think that was your turning point.
And that was a turning point for me, because it was such a scary moment.
You guys, it was scary. Like, I literally was like, are his feet going to be amputated at one point? Because it was
And it wasn't getting better. I had to go back a couple times before it started to improve. And so, long story short, of way of saying, she really was there for me through that difficult time. And nobody else could have or would have done that for me. And I love you, baby.
I love you. So let's integrate now, transition into how we both knew we were ready to try again. And like, how did we believe things were going to be different and like overcome that doubt? And then go into how did we actually rekindle? So I'll share for me. Well, I knew I was ready. So the ready part, I think, told you, if you want to add any more to that in a second. But for me, how I knew things would be different was because during the months of living alone and healing, I did so much work, and I believe in this work. I believe people can change. I believe that with healing, I am the epitome of change. Like, if you knew me back in high school, from middle school, high school to college to who I am now, I am not the same person. Our cells are constantly rejuvenating. Neuroplasticity proves that we can change in our brain. Like, I believe this shit to my core. There's proven science and spirituality to it. So for me, I felt like a different woman. And I felt like I had embodied and learned lessons in the beginning stages. Obviously, I had to put them to the test when we had gotten back into the relationship. But I had a different set of sunglasses on. I looked at you and our relationship in a completely different way. And so I knew that with this new awareness and this new perspective, I was like, things have to be different. And it just was like this feeling in my heart, this knowing that I was going to commit and show up and do what it takes. And really I just was like, you feel different. Like, you know, do you ever have those moments where you're just like, holy shit, I'm never going to see the situation in the same light because someone told you something or you experienced it, or like you had a near-death experience, so now you are so grateful for life. It was like that for me. If you listen back on episode 79, like when I had that vision, I had never experienced anything like that in my entire life. That was spiritual. And I get goosebumps when I think of it. Like, wow. I just remember that pain, and I just remember like what I experienced, and I felt like I never had been different. I had never been the same since. And it was just that knowing and that belief that just got me through. It was a crazy experience. So that's how I personally knew I was ready to try again and really believed and knew things would be different. And I honestly did not have a doubt in my mind on my end, right? What about, sorry, I got emotional on that one, but how about you, baby?
Yeah, for me, it was, if we were to move forward, it was going to be the woman that I marry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before our breakup, it was never clear to me that you were confident that we were going to spend the rest of our lives together.
Yeah, I never said it to you.
She never said it. And just the confidence that she exhibited coming into the Rekindle. You know, if you think about sales, it's if you're selling something, if you truly believe in it, it's going to be a lot easier to sell that thing. And I think she just had such confidence in us really lasting forever if we make this work. And I think at one point she even said that she wanted to marry me. And that really solidified it for me, because that was a non-negotiable for me if we were to move forward and get back together.
I remember I looked at you and I was like, I don't want you to ask me to be your girlfriend unless you're in it for life. Like, you asking me to be your girlfriend was the same commitment as you asking me to marry you, because it was just like, we're not fucking around here. Like, we're either in it or we're not. And
we just committed. We went all in, prioritized the relationship, and 1 year later and one day comes full circle and we get engaged.
Mm-hmm.
After
he proposed.
After asking her to be my girlfriend again.
Yeah, he
proposed the year before. So.
On our anniversary of getting back together, which is how cute. If you haven't watched our videos, go stalk me on Instagram, because they're so freaking cute, and I jump up like a bunny. Jeez, did not expect to do that, but
her reaction was priceless, guys. Definitely check.
So that's how we moved through. Like, okay, we're ready. We moved to the doubt. So okay, how did we do it? So, you know, we're getting lots of questions on like, how did we start on a good basis and not go back to old ways, and how did we handle, you know, all of it? How did we rekindle? So I think the first thing we did was we made a commitment, and not like a game plan, but a commitment to ourselves. And we committed to, one, seeing each other for who we are now and who we're becoming, and not bringing up the past.
Not dwelling on the past.
We did not. Like, if it got brought up, we would be like, yo, that's in the past, right? We were like, I see you for who you are now, because you're not who you used to be. And the relationship too. We did not bring up past. We didn't really argue in our past relationship. We're not big fighters. It was just, you know, the conflicts that we had. You know, we weren't going to bring it up like, oh, of course you did that, just like in the past. You know,
mistakes, right?
Mistakes. Like, how many times do you and your partners or exes, like, have you brought up shit from the past? You can't do that. You cannot do that when you're rekindling or trying to remake it work, or you're in a current relationship and you're trying to re-strengthen. No, draw a fucking line in the sand and choose to move forward from it. And I think that was a big commitment we made, was we're not going to see each other for who we used to be.
Yeah, it's about learning from those mistakes and what can you do differently, right? You could still try to fix things that happened in the past, right? Mm-hmm. But not dwelling on it and blaming the other person for a mistake that they can't change.
Yeah, and if we were falling back into an old behavior or anything, we learned how to communicate. We nurtured our relationship like it was a newborn. We took care. Hey, we did check-ins. Mm-hmm. We communicated, hey, I'm not feeling seen or loved. or, you know, not that was happening, but we held this space. Like, it was safe to talk about that. Like, hey, I don't really like when you talk this way. It doesn't feel good. We've done code words before.
You said full transparency. That communication was key, and I think we just got really intentional, went all in on prioritizing us. Like, these are the nights we're going to do date night this week.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
putting it on the calendar and actually setting intentional time. Hey, babe, this Friday morning, let's go for a walk on the beach for sunrise, right?
Yeah, let's get coffee.
Let's do a date on the beach after work, whatever it is.
I would say the biggest first step around that was we took time to get to know each other again and to get to know who we were and who we were becoming after all this heartbreak and healing. And we did that through conversations, like in person. Fuck the texting shit. You know, we're like, okay, once a week. You know, we at this point we were still living apart, so our commitment was like one date a week. That's what I got out of him. Was like we took it very, very slow. It was a very gently, like what's the word? I don't know. We handled it with care and gentle, as if it was fragile. And we once a week. And these dates weren't like extravagant dinners. Maybe they were mini golf. Maybe they were a walk in nature, a walk in the beach. Maybe it was a movie night or a game night. But at the end of the day, it was like every Wednesday night was typically what it was our date night. Right?
Yeah, we were making it fun too, right? Like exciting things that were experiences together, because a lot of the great times I had with you in the past was adventures.
Yeah.
Right. So bringing that was never an issue in the relationship. We always had that.
Yeah.
In those experiences. And so
it was a communication.
Bringing that. Yeah, exactly. But bringing those back into the fold started to make us feel good about dating again.
Yeah. Me overcoming the fear of commitment, me overcoming the belief that I wasn't worthy of love. I showed up completely different in the relationship. And he had to get to know who that woman was. And I had to show him. And I got to be it. It was beautiful. I got to, especially the beginning stages, I had to let go of, right, the time. We took it very, very slow. I had to let go of the conversations. Like, how could we just have fun and be 100% present in the moment? Learning how to let go and surrender through the breakup and rekindling, I stepped even deeper into my feminine. And the new relationship that we created was a better balance of the feminine energy and the masculine energy. And when I talk about feminine and masculine energy, I'm not talking about gender roles here. I'm talking about the energy. We all have both. And in our prior relationship, I was operating heavily in the masculine, trying to be in control, trying to lead, making the rules my way or the highway, and the go, go, go. And we were not taking time for ourselves or each other. I was a wounded masculine energy. And when we rekindled, I was like, I just let you lead, because it was, based on your heart when you were ready.
Right.
And it felt so good. I never had been in my feminine energy like that before.
So let's do more of that.
Well, we do now.
For me, I always felt like you brought out the best in me. And we have very different personalities, I would say. It's kind of a yin and a yang that comes together in a sense. But our values are aligned.
Mm-hmm. And I talked about that in the episode of... Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to go.
Which is extremely important.
Yeah.
I think we got... And when we were rekindling, we got very clear on what do we both want in life? Mm-hmm. What are our goals?
Like, we sat down and had these conversations. We opened up.
The love languages, all that. We put it all on the table. We said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this fucking right.
Yeah. We
really got clear on what we wanted in both the short run and the long term.
Yeah.
In terms of future family, kids, everything. You
guys have to have these conversations with your partners, whether you're first dating somebody new or you're in a relationship with someone for so long, but like you haven't really talked, like, do they want kids? Do they not want kids? Why hasn't he proposed yet? Like, communication is key. If you can take something from this, work on your communication and do some healing if you can't communicate. Because when we improved our communication, it completely changed our lives and our relationship. And our old relationship had to crumble in order for us to create a new foundation and a new relationship. And like you said, we had to address a lot of things. I share this on the episode. I don't know, go back just like maybe within the last 5 episodes how to know if they're the one. Because if you heard our story in 79, I didn't know Evan was the one. Everybody was like, when you know, but I didn't know. But a big thing that you have to have these conversations with people is, do they value the same things that you value? We both value adventure and travel, and we value family, and we value very similar things. They're different values, but they're very similar, and they balance each other very well, and they're compatible.
Yeah, and I think you have to ask yourselves the hard questions.
Yeah.
Or each other, right? And be very real with yourself. Are we going to be happy in the future if these things come up and we're not aligned?
We had to have some really tough conversations around that, because cool, we're feeling goo goo gaga about being back together now, but like, let's make sure.
Now you have another human being and that you have to take care of, and what if your values aren't aligned in that?
You mean if we had a baby?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like in the future.
Yeah, we had to have a very serious talk on that, because I don't say we have different views on children, but
it's just getting aligned with that to make sure that issues aren't going to come up.
Yeah, do we have the same values? Do we have the same goal and vision in life? Do you bring out the best in me?
The lifestyle, everything.
Yeah. Everything. And so, like I said, we learned a lot. We took a lot of time to create new ways, code words, understanding our behaviors and why we operate the way we do, and communicating better, our love languages, our sex languages, like all of this. And, you know, these are all things I'm covered inside of Radiant Relationships. If you want to discover more about yourself to create a relationship like this, like, I'm going to be bringing you through what we did to create the relationship that we have now, because we need more healthy examples of relationships. We need more people talking about this, because the divorce rates are atrocious. The rates of people still married and miserable are atrocious. And I truly believe that's not what we're meant to be here on this earth for. We're meant to be in love and in connection. And I believe the honeymoon phase can last. You might go through bumps in the road. Yeah, some people sometimes, like, I want to, like, pull Evan's hair out at moments. But, like, you can have radiant relationships. And so we had to build a new foundation.
100%. And look, let's be clear here. We're far from perfect. But we've come a long way. A long way. And I'm happy to say our bond is stronger than ever. I might have added a few gray hairs along the way, but I'm very happy now. And look, I think we both have very busy schedules. And one thing I try to prioritize is I'm going to have at least breakfast, lunch, or dinner with Tati today.
Yeah.
I try to do that every day. And we try to go on a walk
every day,
almost every day together.
Even if it's at 8:30 p.m., we do it.
Yeah. We make it work around our schedules, right? And prioritizing that quality time to spend together and really have those deep conversations and check-ins with each other has really made a big difference for us, and that's been meaningful to me.
Yeah, I really think it was learning how to navigate the waters of the uncertain periods, and learning how to let go and communicate with each other properly, and then redating each other. Like that's how we've rekindled this. And we you know, you have a coach, I have coaches, we've done the work separately as well. I've done a lot of work within myself. Like, Evan and I have been through a roller coaster since the day we met, because of my traumas and baggage and trapped emotions where I have lashed out. And so it's not in 1 month or 1 year everything's going to be perfect. We've known each other since 2013, but...
Well, in the beginning, too, you were my first...
Real
girlfriend. And so...
Player.
I didn't know exactly how to handle that at first. And so, you know, knowing what I know now, I probably would have done some things differently, but I wouldn't know what I know now if I didn't learn from mistakes and trial and error along the way.
Yeah, and so it really was just treating it like a baby and being like, okay, like, how can we regrow this in a healthy, beautiful way, and open communication. It's really what it comes down to. I think commitment and getting support, because you don't know what you don't know. And we have had beautiful support from friends. We only took advice from people who we look up to and we value, who have the life or relationship that we desire, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll take advice from someone who learned a hard lesson, but if they don't have the relationship or life that I desire, I appreciate their words, but I don't take it in sometimes. And so we have had a lot of support. When we were rekindling, we stayed with the friendships, that we asked for support. We had one-on-one time with people to support us, to make sure that we were moving through this in a healthy way. We had coaches, and I think it just comes down to taking the space and time to do what it takes to grow. and make a change. What did you say?
Yeah, no, that was some great insights and takeaways, lessons that we've learned and things that we've got out of the story. I don't know if I took advice from people, but I definitely heard people out.
Yeah.
Kind of shared the story, and
I took
kind of
advice.
just bounced ideas off of people close to me.
And we have a lot of lessons during our breakup, and a lot of lessons of the year of getting back together, of navigating the waters of, you know, new relationship, but like same person, awkwardness. I think that's a whole new a whole podcast episode on itself, because I think all of us experience lessons for us to learn and to share with one another. If I can save you time and heartache, this is a big reason why we're recording this podcast. So maybe we do another one. But
yeah, the good news is there was definitely tremendous personal growth that came out of the whole experience for us. I think each one of us individually, and then together as well. So it wasn't all, you know, a negative experience. It was ups and downs, and it turned into something beautiful.
Yeah. And so another question we have here was like, how do we show up differently in our relationship? And I think we've touched a lot on this, like new ways, new foundation. I think one thing we haven't touched on is our independence. Not that we lost our identities too much in the old relationship, but sometimes you can be codependent, or you identify as just the girlfriend or whatever. And I think we really made sure, you know, we have alone time with our friends or work, and we find a balance with it. And it wasn't just all us, especially when getting back together. Like, we had to give this time, but we also had to make sure we were good and whole individually as well.
This is a big one for me. Letting each other pursue our hobbies or time outside of the relationship is huge. You know, just yesterday I played in a golf tournament. I had a blast, and that's something that really brings me joy and brings me fulfillment, which allows me to show up better in the relationship after those activities. So just being upfront and transparent with Tati, and just saying, like, look, babe, I would love to play golf this weekend. It's going to take me 5 hours. I'm going to carve it out. And here's the other day I'm going to spend time with you, and I'm going to come back refreshed, and my cup is going to be full, and come back even stronger in our relationship and more present because it helps bring presence for me.
It's all about give and take, for sure. And, you know, as we're slowly wrapping up here, like, every relationship's different, but I think making sure you're whole and independent in a relationship is huge. And you can't, you know, you are whole before the person. And that's one thing that we really made sure we held our ground on when we came back together.
Right. Yeah, I think it's leaning on each other for support, but not relying on the other person to hold you up emotionally or carry you. You have to carry your own weight in all different areas in life, at least emotionally and things like that. So it can't be a situation where somebody's just carrying all that weight. It has to be independently supported and then come together to make it even stronger.
Yeah. So we do
from my perspective.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So we do have a few questions here. We can't get to all of them because they're going to take too long, so we can create another episode on them. And for those of you who have more questions, either about our story, if you want to know some more juice, if you want us to spill the tea, or you have questions around your situation or just relationships in general, I'm going to create a form to put in the show notes below where you can answer your questions. And then Ev and I will record in the next few weeks another episode and answer them. But just a few that we can get up here. You know, what did we do both do during our time apart? I think was we healed and we discovered who we were becoming, and we took the time to get to know ourselves again, and with hobbies and building up that independence and the healing, which I have episodes on like what I did to heal during my breakup. I have a free Radiate through a breakup guide where I share my tips and tricks. So you can go check that out. And yeah, I think some of these questions let's save for the next one, just because I don't want to like rehash some of them, some conversations. But as we wrap this up, I just want to share, you know, if you're listening because you just want to hear more of our story, great. I appreciate you. If you're listening because you are going through a breakup or time apart from your partner and hopes to get back together, I hope our story gives you hope, while also remember that what's meant to be for you will be for you, and not to wait around for someone, because I really want to emphasize this, because on TikTok, there's way too much of I need this energy, this needy energy. I want him or her back. Oh, I'm desperate. Oh, and there's some people like, but what if they were toxic? What if there's trauma? Like, Evan and I had a healthy relationship still. There was respect, there was health, there was no cheating involved. And I want you to remind yourself of your worth. You do deserve a healthy, loving relationship, but make sure that you're not waiting around for someone who's not bringing out the best in you or isn't treating you with the love and respect. Even if they are even, like, I waited around for Evan, but I didn't wait around. I was still doing my healing and my work and my independence. Do not wait. Have trust and learn to surrender and let go of the outcome. Put it out there, like, this is what I desire, but you got to do the art. Like I said, it's a dance. And trust. My biggest thing was I had to trust if it was meant to be, it would be, and we would come back together. And if not, we wouldn't. And I always teach my clients this. When you do the work yourself and you get clear on what it is you desire in a relationship without that person's name attachment, you get what you want. Because at the end of the day, you rise up, you become a stronger, better healed version of yourself. And that energy inspires your current partner or your ex to do that same work and rise up, which is what happened to us. And so we were able to rekindle, or if you're in a current relationship, your partner rises up with you, new relationship. And or they don't, and they're anchoring you down. And eventually you let go or you break up. But you're operating at this new version of yourself, this new frequency where you meet someone who's at that level too, who then gives you those desires and qualities and characteristics in a relationship. So at the end of the day, you get what you want in the relationship. It may not be with the person you want. And learning to let go and trust that, because at the end of the day, focus on the characteristics and the values and how you want to feel in a relationship. And yeah, if you're
well said, baby. Well said.
Thank you. My clients always like light bulb moment when I say that. And yeah, whatever, like, I don't know, like, where you're at, who's listening, but I just appreciate you listening. I hope our story resonates. I hope it either gives you hope or just insight on how to improve your relationship or current relationships, giving you hope to keep going in your healing journey. Even if you're in a relationship, you can do healing, because we all have something to heal from. There may be a reason why you behave the way you do with your partner. Cool, let's go in and let's heal that. Yeah, what are your final words as we wrap this up of just like our year back together, our rekindling? I don't know, anything else you would like to say or ask?
Yeah, no, I would just say it's worth it if it's the person that you think is right for you, and definitely think long term, right? And how the relationship may evolve over time, and have those conversations of what your goals and values are in order to get aligned. But I'd like to wrap it up just with a two-part question for you, babe. And that question is, leading up to the rekindling, did you believe that you would be successful in that journey? And how did it feel when it did materialize? How good was that feeling?
It's a good question. So just because of the work I do, like, I would really visualize and tap into it. So I did believe it was possible, and I did also visualize what would happen if it didn't, so I wouldn't get attached and be more heartbroken. But I did believe it was possible, and when it did materialize, I don't know if when the moment was, but I do remember being like, holy fucking shit, like, this is everything I've ever wanted, was this love and this connection and this intimacy and this relationship that's healthy and thriving. Like, even what we have today, like, you might see what I post online and think it's cheesy, but like, I don't give a shit. Like, this is how I feel. This is beautiful. I've wanted to feel this seen and loved by someone and worthy of love and committed to, and not fear of commitment. Like, and so I'm here to share it with the world, because I truly believe everybody deserves that. So yeah, it feels amazing to have it materialize.
Love it, love it. I'm happy to say our bond is stronger than ever, and I really feel like the luckiest man on the planet. So
you are.
I love you, too. And we'll wrap it up with that.
Yeah, I love you. I would say, wait, I have a question for you now. What would you say has been your the favorite part of our journey together? And your biggest lesson? Favorite part and biggest lesson?
The favorite part of our journey together, I would just say the comeback, like the turnaround, how beautiful that was to shift from where we were to where we are now. it's just so much personal growth came through that for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really inspiring just how quickly things can change and what's in your control to be able to make positive change in your life. So the biggest lesson for me is really just control what you can control. What can you do today to improve your life, to improve your relationships? What is in your hands? And then what's not in your hands, forget about it, right? Focus on what you can actually change and make better. And throughout that process, good things will happen. That's the biggest lesson for me.
Amen. Focus on what you can control. And if you're listening and you're wanting to know more of the how, the steps, the information, the principles and foundation that, we really learned and created and built for ourselves, I invite you to join Radiant Relationships, because I'm laying it out and giving you everything you'll need to learn or need to know on how to create a healthy, thriving relationship filled with this love and this joy and this passion. And this program is going to be for women who not only are single or heartbroken or in a relationship, it's for everyone. Because I think you've got the message here. In order to have what you desire in a partner and in a relationship, you got to do the work yourself. You got to understand what patterns or beliefs do I need to break? What things do I need to let go of or heal from my past? What do I desire? What are my values? What are the characteristics I desire in my current relationship, its next level, or the new partner I'm with? And it's going to support you every step of the way to create your most radiant relationships. And so we have our first round on April 10th. If you're listening before this, I invite you to join. There's a special offering, just having it be the first round. And you're going to love it. You're going to love it. It's 8 weeks filled with massive information, video modules, workbooks, journaling prompts, tools and resources, and you get all of that for life. But then you also get access to me. We have weekly group coaching calls where you can ask me questions. You can get support based on your specific situation. We have breathwork calls to do more healing and tap it into the energy of the relationship you're calling in. And it's going to be so transformative. It's going to allow you to have what Evan and I have created. And I've created this because I believe more people need to learn what we learned so that they can have relationships that you're worthy and deserving of.
You're going to love it, guys. Tati's amazing at what she does. She has a gift. And definitely encourage you to get in there and check it out, because she's truly knows what she's doing.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to share it all. Share everything we learned, our attachment styles, how to communicate, protection mechanisms, love languages, sex languages, like
bang, bang.
We're covering it all. So if you want to join, I will put the link for more information on my website below. You can choose how you would like to join. We have different payment plan options to make it really work for you. And if you're listening to this after April 10th, you can still join future rounds. I'm not sure what that's going to look like at this time of the recording, but I would love to have you inside. And for those of you who have more questions around our story or yourself, I know we have a few that we did not touch here. Let's create a new episode, babe. In the next couple of weeks, we're going on a trip here soon. But when we come back, let's do it. So go on the show notes. You can click the form and ask all of your questions. I say nothing's off topic because we're very open people. And yeah, all right. Any last words?
No, thanks for having me back on. And until next time, guys.
Thank you so much for listening. I love and appreciate you all. I hope you have the most radiant day ever. Know that you are worthy of love. And I will see you next week on the next episode. Keep shining your light. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to share it with me and write an Apple iTunes review so I can keep the good stuff coming your way. If you aren't already following me, you can find me on Instagram at Tatiana_Kuto. Make sure to tag me in any posts that you share. I love and appreciate you so much and cannot wait to connect with you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out and radiate your light into the world.